Good evening, everyone. How are you? It's Tuesday. What is it? January 31st, last day of January. This first month of the year is over, so thank you all for joining us. It is Tuesday night, 7:30, 7:33 to be exact. So you know what time it is. It's time for the Roundtable. And as always, I'm kind of the guy who tries to steer the ship here. I'm Nick Rosario. Nice to see you all again. But of course, as you can see, I'm surrounded by people today. We got a little few extras, which is always nice. I like to have conversations with a few other people. But let's introduce, as always, who we have. Of course, in the upper corner there, you see Delilah. I'm going to show you my guns, Crespo.
Woo! Well, today I'm
Delilah,
wearing long sleeve, but I'm good.
Can't see the guns, but believe me, they're there.
That's right.
You should see her pictures on Facebook, folks. Let me tell you. I think she's trying to like join Miss Universe or something with bodybuilding. I don't know.
She's like a reverse Sid. A reverse Sid. She's got the sleeves on.
That's right. Yeah. There it is. There it is. Right above me is Mr. Anthony. Don't call me Tony. Handy. Anthony, how are you this fine evening?
I am doing very well, sir. It's good to see everybody. All these smiling faces, and as always, I am very happy to be here.
And there it is. Now we can officially start. And of course, in the other corner, we have Tina. My heart is never as cold as a Chicago winter. Tina, how are you this fine evening?
If you were here, you know.
How are you, Tina? Can we hear Tina?
Sorry, I put it.
Oh, there you are. That's okay. I was like, can we hear Tina?
Technical problems, but good.
I feel that though. I hear you. Then, of course, to my right, left, whatever, different facing you and then facing at home. Alex, I only bet on football so I don't lose more. How are you doing tonight, Alex?
That was good.
I'm doing good. How about you?
Oh, fantastic. I give everybody nicknames. So I had to give you one as well. So that's mine for yours. So I'm good. I'm glad everybody's good. And, of course, hello, Ash. We already see Sydney, Ash, and Andrew in the comments. But there's one more person we're with here today. And that is Kyle. I put a ring on it, Yacy, because for those of you who don't know, Kyle was recently engaged.
You guys are
Kyle,
funny.
why don't you tell us all about that, my brother? Give us the name, particulars, all that good stuff.
The names, particulars, with my fiance right beside me. Hey.
Yes.
Well,
is she
I met a very, very lovely lady, and funny enough, actually, it's our anniversary today too. So.
Happy anniversary!
Thank you.
I would have cued the Flintstone video if I knew that was the case. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
You can be my friend, don't you worry, Nick. I have spoken in my life all of that.
Love it, Kyle. Yeah, love it, Kyle. But no. So it was last week. Was the engagement? I believe.
Yeah, I believe it was last Sunday, right, babe? No.
Last Sunday.
He's already in trouble.
It was 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow, Kyle, you're already forgetting dates, bro. That's not good. I'm just saying. You're already forgetting dates.
Together, Mr. Nick.
She already said yes. It's too late.
Right, yeah, it's true. She's already committed, so you're good, right? You're good. When was it?
Thursday. It was a Thursday.
Oh, it was a Thursday.
I know that because of the ladies' show 2 weeks ago.
Right. Like I said, they were the first show to break the news. So, yeah, exactly.
That's right. Breaking news.
I'm already in trouble.
Right,
congratulations. You've already done your job, bud.
Sorry, bro. I love you, man. I'm sorry. What can I do?
Oh, I'm just kidding.
No. Believe me, I'm the guy who sits here alone in his room. You don't want to take advice from me anyways, Kyle. Don't worry about
Nick,
it.
It's okay.
It's all
Listen,
good.
Nick, it's fine. I said, I have a fiance, but I still need a husband. I'm just saying.
There you go, brother. Hey, if you like chubby bearded men over 50, I'm your man, bro. So,
well, as long as you got good taste in the food, honestly, where can I go wrong, right?
Absolutely, I do. Trust me. Body by Lou Malnati's right here, my friend. I'm just saying. But anyways, let us talk some football, shall we? Here on the round table. We always like to have a good time while we discuss our football at the same time. So let's get right into it. Let's start with, I thought we should start because the other game was a lot more exciting. Let's start with the NFC Championship game, which ended up being, just a snooze fest of sorts. Because let's just get into it. I'll start with Kyle. You're our guest this week, Mr. Newly Engaged.
Yeah.
How bad was the planning though on this in some ways, with the fact that you had to go to a 4-string quarterback and then you didn't have a third stringer per se, so you had Christian McCaffrey taking like 1 or 2 snaps. What happened there in San Francisco there, Kyle?
Actually, I'm going to relay a little bit to what I was listening to the radio. So every morning I listen to TSN 1260. That's our sports football talk or whatever.
Okay.
Talk about football.
Okay.
And they actually put it, I think, the best. Going into that game, it was clear that, the Eagles were the favorites, right? So, I was obviously hopeful that the 49ers could have pulled it off. But if you look around the board, right, defense, even offensive weapons, like the 49ers are stacked. But at the same time, like how they mentioned on the radio, they've been riddled with injuries all year. You know what I mean? Nobody could have necessarily predicted that was going to happen to Brock Purdy. Even with Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance, it's just been really unfortunate in terms of what's happened with the San Francisco 49ers. And the way that the Eagles have built their team, they're a strong team. I'm not a fan of the Eagles by any means, but just seeing how strong they've been this year, and they've just been a dominant force. You pretty much need everything to fire on all cylinders to go into a game like that. So honestly, I'm not blaming it completely on injuries, but the 49ers have had no easy year. Let's just say that. So
no, that's true. I mean, they picked up McCaffrey and went on a winning streak. But Alex, let me ask you this: would it have mattered anyways if Brock Purdy was 100% healthy? That Eagles defense was looking pretty good. What did you think of that?
That defense played out of their mind. I mean, you look at that defensive line. The one guy had 3 sacks in the first 2 drives alone. So
yeah, exactly.
It was absolutely insane. But then again, I think it would have mattered because even though they were getting dominated, it was still only 7-0. And if you look at it, that catch on that 4th down wasn't really a catch. So, I mean, they were one fluke play before scoring from a 1-score game. And I think if Purdy's in and you're not extremely one-dimensional, then I think that game's a little bit closer. But as soon as Purdy got hurt and they couldn't throw, it took them right out of the game.
No, absolutely. And I think, Tina, that was one of the big things that I noticed, that obviously knowing you can't throw the ball really, the defense seemed like they just started to key in on McCaffrey and everyone. They just couldn't run. I mean, what was your opinion of that particular situation? Because, I mean, yeah, McCaffrey's great, but when you're the only guy on offense, nothing good's going to happen for you.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. Purdy's out, so you bring in Josh Johnson, who's only been kind of hawking the other side to see what they're doing to try and be there. He wasn't set to play. And then that's all you have to do is key in on McCaffrey and key on Ayuk and key in on these guys and cover them, and it's done. And then Johnson just ends up getting a concussion, and it's all over.
Yeah.
The game's point. I mean, I agree the defense was doing really, really well until Purdy got hurt, though. They might have been able to hang in there. They might have been able to do what Kyle Shanahan usually does, but if those two things happen, you're just done.
What do you mean what Kyle Shanahan usually does? Because what Kyle Shanahan usually does is what he's already done, and that's not finish what he starts. So really, it's no different than what Kyle Shanahan usually does.
Well, he wasn't able to get out to the big lead first. That was the issue. He didn't have to get out to the lead.
My apologies.
Shanahan doesn't make me. I understand the joke. Believe me. Yeah, it's a good one.
Tita was definitely like, yeah, shut up, Kyle. No, that's enough out of you. That's enough out of you, pal. Delilah, we'll go to you next. Let's jump to the Eagles side. We saw what happened with San Francisco and just the inability, obviously, to get anything going. But how about Jalen Hurts? Was this a chance for Jalen to go, look, yes. I know, because I know you're a big fan, so yes, go ahead.
Yes, it is. Listen, by the way, I did go on NFL Edition. That's the name of your show, right, Alex? I chose these two teams to go to the Super Bowl. Anyway, just throwing that out there.
Sorry, Delilah. I'm so sorry. I won't question you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Listen. No, honestly, listen. Honestly, with the Eagles and 49ers, it was lopsided. We know, right? So we're not going to go into that because we discussed it. So there's but at the same time, I knew that a lot of people still weren't sold on the Eagles. And I know it has to do with a lot of biases, which I get, right? Their fans tend to be pretty awful. I'm not even going to hide that, right? We know that. We've seen the videos, right? So it's not. However, but the team itself, like, I knew they were well-rounded. I knew Jalen needed his shot. You know, I don't follow college as much, but I've paid attention to some of the, college football shows. And I know that he finally got a shot in Oklahoma that he didn't get in Bama. Tua got the, the sunshine that, it happens, right? And then he went and got his own sunshine in another team. And so I knew that Jalen could get things done. He just wasn't given. We forget they went to the playoffs last year. And I think people forget that. And he was knocked out by the GOAT, right? So let's not forget that, right? And that was a GOAT that wasn't the guy that was this season, right? He was married, happy, right? We know that. He was married, happy, no problems. Sure. He was like playing like we were
still throwing for over 5,000 yards.
But,
yeah, no, babe. We're not mentioning that, though.
But what I'm saying is, like, people forget. I think people forget who he lost to, and you know what I'm saying. Well, and so, like, but I knew that they would get a shot. Devontae is a better receiver than he gets credit for because he's off and on, but he's had a good season this year. I mean, look at the catch he had this game. It was wild. We saw him go deep. He caught it wobbling. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, like, we love those types of catches. Sanders doesn't get a lot of love as a running back, and he should because he's a top 5 receiver. If you look at the stats, he is top 5 in rushing yards. But because he's not like these big like personalities, he's a bit more quiet. So people don't talk about him much, on offense, as a running back. But he had a great game too. And the defense showed up. And I said that too. The Dallas showed people how to pressure Purdy. And Purdy wasn't doing that great. Then he got hurt, right? Because the Eagles defense were doing what they had to do. And they were like, let me pressure the quarterback. And so they won this game. And I'm not surprised. Like, I think definitely the score would have been closer if they had Purdy. But I still think the Eagles would have come out on top regardless. So kudos, Eagles. You're in the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, no, they are. And Handy, I was going to kind of touch on the college aspect with you because I know you follow college a little bit more, but just in general with Jalen Hurts now, this is his third year in the offense. Like the first year they were like 2-3 and like 13 or something like that. So they go from worst pretty much to now they're at the top of the NFC. How do you think that Jalen feels about all that? With just knowing that the Alabama thing happened and he goes to Oklahoma, nothing really. I mean, he has a good season, but nothing really happens there. Then he comes to the NFL and he's got this. Everybody, bags on the guy, and all of a sudden he's the king of the NFC.
So far, he seems to have taken it all in stride. He's not one of those players that you see that's very demonstrative, that doesn't do a lot of interviews and do a whole lot of barking and woofing and those kinds of things. Although I just found out he is a member of Omega Psi Phi, so it would surprise me if he barked a little bit.
There you go.
But he just seems to handle everything in stride. I mean, I've been following him since he was at Alabama. When he got benched, he just was like, "Okay, coach," and he went and sat on the bench. And when Tua won the game, he went and gave him a great big old hug. And then when the following year, when he got called into when they flip-flopped, and then Coach benched Tua, he went in and did what he had to do. He just seems to have accepted he just seems really very good. His parents must be phenomenal people because he seems like a very well-grounded young man.
True.
Like most of his counterparts are in the league, and they are not most, but a lot of them. You see them already. They're already making a name for themselves by how loud and boisterous they can be, how much of a voice they can have. He just seems to have handled it all in stride. And hell, I'm proud of him because you don't see that a lot. The kid his age, he's 20. He should be
23, 24?
Yeah,
24 maybe.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, Stetson Bennett's older, but we won't talk about that.
Hey, you know what? Don't.
You really had to do that, didn't you?
I couldn't. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
He could be the guy.
Yes, Kyle.
Stetson Bennett, let him be who he is. Like, he's allowed to have fun. I'm just saying.
We forget he's an adult. He's 25.
Yeah,
he's the same age as Lamar Jackson, who's
he also won
his rookie contract.
2 back-to-back college championships. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'll take him on the Falcons.
Right. Yeah, right. But the thing that we talked, you don't want him to turn into a Johnny Manziel, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, you don't want that. Nobody wants that.
Better focus on the football a bit more.
Exactly.
Because one Johnny Manziel was already 5 too many.
I know, but couldn't he like? Okay, I know that there are some college like stars that ride off into sunset with that accolades. Couldn't he just live with that because he's that guy? Like, because I know it happens with some college guys who don't go to the NFL, but they're hometown heroes. You know what I mean?
Depends
he could literally just live.
He could
around them.
Yeah.
Are they telling him? You can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
Like,
or somebody sitting there saying, "Look, you're 25,
right? Yeah.
Like, you're game manager. Do you think you can really do that?"
That's what I mean. He could live off of this, and
yeah,
good.
My 2 cents.
The money in the NFL is the reason why most of them try.
I put my 2 cents out about that already, and my thought process on that is that since the time he started college football, he had somebody tell him he wasn't good enough. He had the coaches when he tried to get in the first go round. You're too short. You don't have a strong enough arm. He went to junior college. He comes back. It's like, okay, we'll put you on the team, but you're going to sit behind Jake Fromm and JT Daniels and God only knows who else. And then every time he gets to the game and plays, he'd go in and play a phenomenal game, and the fans would go, "This kid sucks." And then he was the starting quarterback that year, and all people said was he could have a perfect game and have one penalty, and they go, "Yeah, he needs to be benched because he had one penalty." He's dealt with that the entire career, almost the entire decade. The entire decade of his college career.
Yeah, that's true though. He's had a lot of years in the college,
and he feels like I think he's got a big chip on his shoulder. I really do. That's just my 2 cents.
No. He you know what, he probably does. And again, when you win 2 national titles back to back, you should have a chip on your shoulder. What the hell?
Why not?
You played at that elite college level. I mean, you deserve at least that much.
Right. I mean, honestly, you're right. He could ride off into the sunset. And never pay for another steak or beer or anything anywhere in Athens, Georgia ever.
Wow. That is very true.
Somebody in the state of Georgia would give him a seven-figure endorsement deal to go, "Hey,
job, whatever.
Georgia, hey, I'm Stetson Bennett. This is my beer, and use Georgia power." That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. No, I agree with you because again, he will always be a legend in Georgia over there at the University of Georgia. So yeah, you definitely Stetson Bennett. Whatever you do, man, you're going to have some nice income in your future, no matter what you do. That's for sure. But let us move on. We have another championship game that went on, which is the AFC Championship, of course. And we all know what happened here. This was at least a much better game to watch in terms of what happened. To me, the battle on both sides, because to me it was a battle of two halves, really. Because and we'll get into that right away. Delilah, we'll start with you. Joe Burrow in the first half did not look very impressive at all. What happened? Was it more a sense of Joe, or was it more a sense of that good Kansas City defense that they're not known for?
No, I mean, honestly, I'm not going to knock Joey. I feel like it's not a good route to go, because every time we do that, he makes you look like a jerk, right? And so I think it just had more to do with, like, it was a crappy first half, and all of our elite quarterbacks have gone to that. Like, look at all of our quarterbacks that we say are top dogs. Every one of them has had a crappy quarter, even 2 quarters, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, they turn around in the third. You know what I mean? So I don't think that it's that. I think honestly, when you're playing at this caliber, even though we don't think of Kansas City when it comes to defense, but when you're playing in an AFC Championship game, it does get elevated. I don't care what people say. It's a different set of, you're fighting to go to the Super Bowl. So all these guys are in a whole different mentality. They're like, if we don't win here, we don't go to the mothership, right? And so I do think that the defense said, no, we have to step up. People have been talking crud about us all season. We're not great, blah, 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 blah. And so I do think that stuff gets in your head, which is why we saw all the videos afterwards, right? Of all the Kansas City Chiefs players making fun of everyone that doubted them, right? We saw all of them come out later. And I think that it was both. I think Joey B did have a bad first half, but I don't think we should take that as like his whole career. And I do think that the defense did step up for them. I do think Kansas City defense stepped up. They were like, we're in the high stakes game. We need to get this. We need to pressure. We know already that Joe Burrow's offensive line is not good. We know that. He just does not have a good O-line. And we know that if we pressure, if we push at that and we poke at those weaknesses, right? The right weaknesses means you're going to pressure Joe. He's not going to have time to get his cannon out. He's not going to have time to even get it to his running back, right? And so I do think that they came in knowing that. They were like, they have a crap O-line. And so we cannot.
Had 3 guys injured, right? With it,
Right, exactly. Well, not just that, it's all together, right? They're like, we're gonna take advantage of those weaknesses, and they did. They took advantage of those weaknesses, and I think that the Kansas City defense did their job in that first half. But then, of course, we saw what happened in the second half, and things turned around, right?
Yeah.
But I really think that that's really what happened in the first half. The defense really stuck up, and they took advantage of the fact that there were a bunch of injured players on that offensive line. And that was a weakness that they could take advantage of, and they did. And that's what a good football team should do, right? That's what we want the defensive coordinator to do. It's like, all right, here we are, the big game. We're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to poke at this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 100% handy, my man. The Chiefs, though, obviously we knew Patty was coming in with the high ankle sprain, all that good stuff, all the talk all week. Is he going to be this? Is he going to be that? Overall, what did you think of his performance in this game?
Listen. If you have been following Patrick Mahomes since he came in the league, and if you had never thought to yourself that boy was a baller, if you watched that game this past Sunday, knowing he had a high ankle sprain, knowing he's not 100%, knowing that he's not 100%, and saw what he was able to make happen, especially with that final drive en route to the game-winning field goal, and didn't think to yourself, Patrick Mahomes is a baller, I don't know what the hell game you were watching. I mean, I've never been on the Patrick Mahomes bandwagon, but I'm impressed. Like he's obviously the best. He's obviously the best of the young up and coming quarterbacks. And
okay, yeah, of course.
I just one man's humble opinion. I mean, it's him. Sure. It's him and Joe Burrow right there, like a very close 1 and 2, I would think, just in terms of skill set and determination alone. But that boy balled all the way out. He was not going to be denied. The look on his face when he went out on the field was like, "All right, we got this. Let's go." And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, yes, and. Tino, that was the thing, though. Obviously, early on and really into the second half, you didn't really see Patrick go for the run. There was a couple of instances where he had open holes to run, and he still looked to pass. Obviously, on the last play, he decided to run, and we all know what happened with that. But seriously, I know you're not a big fan, and I just get this out of the way. You're AFC, you're a Denver Broncos fan, so you're not a Chiefs fan. I understand this.
A horsey.
But seriously. Wow, Kyle's like horsies. All right, we'll get into that in a little bit. Here, let's get Kyle. You kill me, man. I swear, you're killing me. Horsies. No, but what I was going to say, Tina. Sorry. No, but obviously, even probably you had to be impressed with the resolve of the Kansas City defense, especially because again, not being known for defense, Kansas City really came out and put the screws to Joe Burrow. What was your impression of all that?
I mean, they did what they needed to do, which is they needed to keep the defense that they had in the game before, which they did. They lost their best cornerback. And I've got to say, for having a couple of rookie cornerbacks in that game, they did pretty well. I mean, they stepped up to the plate. I can't repeat on air the words that came out of my mouth when Mahomes ran for that. But I'm pretty sure that my upstairs neighbor's children did not enjoy it. But as I also said on the ladies' thread too, I know I make a lot of jokes about Kermit and I don't like him. I do respect the man, but when you play him twice a year you get within a touchdown or two of beating the guy, and you've been doing it for 15 games now, you lose patience with the whole thing. So it's just frustration.
Right. No, I understand.
Yeah. I mean, they did what they needed to do. The Chiefs they played the game they were supposed to play. So.
No, that's true. Now, to the flip side of that, Kyle, as we all know, like you said, they definitely seem a lot. But Cincinnati, for their part, I thought their defense, actually, Joseph Ossai, but last play aside, that kid was having a monster game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Cincinnati's defense really stepped up in a big way. Obviously, we know the result, but I mean, what was your impression of that? Because I think Cincinnati was playing lights out on defense.
No, absolutely. I think Cincinnati's defense, though, has been kind of up and coming for the last couple of years now. Like, they've been doing a very, very good job of rebuilding that. Because before even Joe Burrow was, in Cincinnati, right? Like, they had holes everywhere, right? And they definitely filled it in the last couple of years over their defense. It's just, like you kind of mentioned earlier, it's their O-line, right? Because their O-line's been for so long that, it's literally pretty much a couple pieces away from them being, in my opinion, far better than what the Eagles are right now. Now, kind of tying that into everything too is, we talk about how Jalen Hurts is elite, quote unquote, right? But I'm going to be completely honest. Maybe this is a hot take, but I think that team is elite more so not because of Jalen Hurts, but because they have such a strong D line and a strong O line in particular. Like when they're lining up, they're a strong team.
Yeah, that's true.
But you look at, KC. KC is very unique in a way. So you can actually compare KC to, funny enough, Green Bay actually in a lot of ways. But the thing that I find about KC is that Patrick Mahomes is a very talented quarterback. There's no question about it. He's by far in the last 5, 6, however long he's been in, there's been nobody like Patrick Mahomes. And look at what KC currently has as weapons. Kadarius Toney is by no means he's a good wide receiver. He's great, right? But you have Juju Smith-Schuster, right? They had a newcomer, Pacheco.
Pacheco is their running back. Yeah.
These aren't notorious names. These aren't people that people really paid a lot of attention to in college. I'm going to be honest with you. So with what he has right now, Casey does not get enough credit. It is crazy that they have made it now to the Super Bowl, in my opinion. And I don't know. I think a large portion of that also it comes down to coaching. And not to give it a spoiler, I think that's going to be the differentiating factor of who wins the Super Bowl is it's going to be coaching. Because don't get me wrong, Nick Sirianni, right? That's who it is.
Yeah, yeah, Sirianni, right?
Sirianni's a great coach, but he's not Andy Reid. I'm just saying, he's not.
Not a lot of people are, my friend. You're right. Not a lot of people are.
That's my 2 cents though on that.
No, not a problem. Alex, I'm going to go in a little different direction with you, just because this is now the third out of fourth year that Kansas City is going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right? Third, 3 or 4, right? And Patrick Mahomes, as it stands right now, if he wins this Super Bowl, can you consider him? And I'm talking elite though. I'm not talking about just good. Does this catapult him into that now early Hall of Fame? This kid is going to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. With if they can pull that off, has he proven that with the way he's played in the last 5 years?
So I think with that, he's at the point where if his career continues this way, he's a lock. I think it's one of these ones where if he has a good couple of years and then something happens and he decides to walk away, then he's still borderline after a 6, 7, 8 year career because it's been that phenomenal.
Right.
But I mean, we look at what he has around him, kind of like what Kyle said there. A lot of people don't realize that defense, even though a lot of people don't think it's that great, they were second in the entire NFL in pressures. So they get after the quarterback. They might not sack the quarterback, but they get there and cause him to be under pressure. So that it's crazy that Mahomes and Kelsey are really only the only big names on this team.
Right.
And they're enough to, like you said, bring it to the Super Bowl 3 out of 4 times. And
true.
The only time they don't get there is when Cincinnati played out of their minds last year in the AFC Championship game to steal from them right around the same score.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the whole thing too. I think it was magnified, given that really the score was the same, just an opposite result. That's one of
that was Cincinnati's best game, arguably all season last year. So it's the fact that even when you lose this game, it's that team's best shot that it takes to beat you. I'm the same as Anthony. I'm not really on that bandwagon of Mahomes, But I mean, you've got to give him his credit where it's due. We're saying it's Burrow and Mahomes. I think it's Mahomes, then Burrow, then everyone else right now. Like he's separated from Burrow too.
Yeah, no, and that's the funny thing is last week I think I may not have mentioned it on air. I don't remember if I did or not. But yeah, I was thinking, Burrow's probably one of the best quarterback in the NFL just for a lot of intangibles, not just what you see on thing, but his leadership and all that other stuff. I was like, Burrow's got to be one of the best if not the best quarterback in the NFL. And then Mahomes goes and does what he does, essentially to get his team to where, and that's the thing. I think that's missing in a lot of this more than anything, is that you can criticize all day this guy did the hit or they wouldn't have been in field goal range. Mahomes did what he had to do to put his team in a position to win. And that's what good leaders and good quarterbacks do. And that's really the point. Because, again, I'm not the biggest Mahomes fan where I'm like, drinking the Kool-Aid and like, yeah, this guy. I mean, again, I respect what he does. Like Tina said, how can you not? But I always look for, man, what is he going to do? Because I want this kid to prove it to me. That's all. I just feel like, so for me, I wanted the Bengals to win. But again, kudos to Kansas City. They got there. They got past that whole thing where in the press conference, Kelsey's like, Burrow hit my ass. You know what I mean? It's Mahomes or whatever. Because oh yeah, go ahead, Kyle. Yes.
I was gonna say, like what you were saying, like there's that one play every year, and I'm sick and tired of people complaining about it. Oh, we would have won of this and that. Like, listen, it's not.
The game was not won or lost.
It's just this year.
Exactly.
Every year.
A lot of people are talking about the fifth down, and I'm
like, my God, no,
if you go back and you look,
I know.
Even me.
I know. But every year,
that was the correct call.
Right?
I agree. But every year, there's a conspiracy. Every year, I've never watched a football game in the modern era where everybody's tweeting. Where someone has some crazy conspiracy about why this game won,
that's the whole thing.
blah, blah. It's so tiresome. I'm going to follow what Nick said. And Nick always says, and we say that as Bears fans who get always like the penalties or whatever, we can't leave it to penalties, right? Nick says that all the time.
You can't leave it to the officials to cost you the game. Let's put it that way.
Right.
You get 60 minutes.
Regardless.
You got to
score more. You gotta score more. Nick always says that you gotta put more points on the board. So if there is bad officiating, right, because it happens, then you overcome it. It doesn't fall to that. So I agree with Nick.
That's right.
I think we need to get over the whole officiating thing, unless they have robots out there like the MLB is gonna try to do.
Exactly.
Like this is where we're at, y'all. Okay. No, I know, but I'm just saying. I'm like, this is where we're at. Mistakes are gonna be made, and so I agree with Nick. You gotta be better and score more points so that if there is a bad call, it doesn't cost you a game.
Doesn't cost you a game, exactly. Well, on that note, let us take a quick break. We're going to be right back in just a minute or so. So enjoy this video, and we'll be back. Hey, as you saw there, that was a compilation of all the shows in the Let's Talk Football family. Of course, we all know football season is winding down, but hey, find us where you can. Some of the shows are still on, so look for us. We're there pretty much every day of the week. You can find something entertaining to watch. Real quick, too, if you saw on that clip, I want to just give a shout out real quick. You saw the Nathan Still podcast. Nate does this podcast, but Nate got some great news today. He was granted access to be one of the media people for the women's Big Ten tournament in Minnesota this year. So that's a big one. Congratulations, Nate, on that accomplishment, my friend. I know you're gonna do big things, man. I love your podcast. Keep going, man. Just keep working, and that's all you do.
Crushing
Keep
it
working,
all
my
the
brother.
time. Crushes it
that is,
time.
Yeah,
Bring your
absolutely.
sports
That's
game.
phenomenal.
Big Nate Sports
That's right.
Talk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Handy. That's it. Absolutely. No, Handy, for those who didn't know, Handy was the voiceover for that. So that is his work. So very good. Thank you, sir. Let us, real quick, because before we get to the Super Bowl stuff, there was a couple of big coaching changes today in the NFL. We do want to talk about that. And of course, we'll start with Tina because she's our resident Bronco fan. And Tina, now listen, here's the thing though. For some reason, from what the stories I'm hearing, DeMeco Ryans turned down the Broncos job. And that is when Mr. Payton was brought into the mix. And we'll talk about where DeMeco ended up. But how do you feel now? You've got Sean Payton as the new head coach of the Denver Broncos.
From what I understand from talking to people, it was DeMeco and Sean and Jim Harbaugh was who they were going after.
Oh.
Harbaugh dropped
right.
out because he was going back to Michigan. Yes. And then they were DeMeco Ryan supposedly had an interview that was out of the park. But everybody keeps forgetting in all of this is that DeMeco Ryan went to school in Houston. His wife is from Houston. Her family is from Houston. He has connections to Houston. So
played for Houston in the NFL too.
Exactly. So like him going back to Houston to me was kind of a no-brainer. That I wanted DeMeco Ryan. I really wanted DeMeco Ryan, even though that was going to be, I think, our 5th brand new head coach. That's who I wanted.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of the Payton decision. I think they jumped the gun a little bit. They might have been able to wait. I don't know. I'm on the fence. I have some questions about. He is a great coach. No doubt about that on my mind. I think he'll be good for Wilson because he will get an offense that's designed to move around Wilson. So I think that's a good thing. I have a problem with Bountygate. Yeah, I don't care how many times people tell me he wasn't involved. He didn't know. He's the head coach. He needed to know what was going on in the locker room. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
And the one thing that is, and we still don't, all we know is what New Orleans wanted in order for him to go to Denver. We don't know what the Waltons are going to give him to get the contract. And that's the part that I'm concerned about because I think he's going to want GM position. And I don't like head coaches and GMs as GMs. I want some accountability. And last thing. Good thing I did find out. One thing I am hearing about this is everybody was kind of talking, who's he going to bring in? Who's he going to bring in? There's rumblings that the Broncos are talking to Fangio to bring him back as the GC under Payton.
Yeah.
That I would agree with. So
that's who Sean Payton wants.
Wait and see. I don't know. I don't want to get too excited because we got really excited last year.
Yeah. I understand. Right. And that's kind of a thing. Kyle, we'll go next to you.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, obviously big disappointment this year. I don't think anybody would argue that. Considering the hype of him coming in, the whole thing, this is going to be a great, offense. He's got, Lindsey, he's got Jerry Jeudy, he's got, I forget the other guy's name. I don't know why his name escapes me right now, but he's got 2 good receivers. Thank you. Sorry. Yes. Right. Tina knows. She's a Broncos fan. No, but I'm saying, can Russ get back to that form? Is it too late, or does Russ still have some time here to turn this thing around with Sean Payton at the helm?
So one of my best friends is a Seahawks fan, unfortunately, but he is. And and he was never behind Russell Wilson pretty much ever since he started. Like, I don't know. Russell Wilson, it's tough to say if he's the guy or not, or if he just had a lucky year. You know what I mean? Like the way I look at it is like the guy's talented. He is talented. I'm not going to take that away from him. But I'm going to say this very broadly. Untalented quarterbacks still win Super Bowls. Unfortunately, that is the reality. And I don't know. Like, if the thing is the way I look at it is Sean Payton. I kind of disagree with Tina. I think Sean Payton by far is the best coach you can sign that's available right now. If anybody is going to turn Russell Wilson around, it will be Sean Payton. And if not, then Russell Wilson probably is not your guy. I'll be honest with you at that point. Yeah, it's tough to say. Like the Denver Broncos right now in a really good spot. They pretty much have all the makings to be that Super Bowl contender and compete in a division that's already very tough. So at this point, it's just actually playing. To be quite honest, to put it blunt, there's nothing else really to it. And kudos to the Saints. Actually, like I'm not a big obviously I'm not a Saints fan. Mr. Fingers knows that as well. But they got their first round pick back, and I'm just saying, like they had literally no moves really to make, and getting Sean Payton, who was never going to come back to the Saints, away and get a first and a second round pick. Kudos to the Saints. I'm just saying.
Well, that's been the rumors all along. That's always what they've been saying is that's what New Orleans wanted. They wanted a first and they wanted a second. And that's and let me say this again. I think Payton is a great coach. It's the intangibles that I have an issue with this decision. They could have waited another year. Payton would have been free. You wouldn't have had to give up draft picks. He'd been talking about he wanted to stay in California. Let's talk about the tweet that he sent during the middle of his Arizona interview where he gave information to one guy saying, this isn't working out. The guy puts the information out, and then he comes back and says, the Broncos are a great organization. That's the intangibles with Payton with mine. I agree he'll be great for Wilson because unlike other coaches, Payton isn't going to try and put a square peg in a round hole. He's going to get an offense that works for that guy. And so it's just other things like, did we overpay for him? Did we jump the gun because we were afraid there weren't going to be any good candidates if we waited until after the Super Bowl? Those are the issues. That's why I'm on this kind of, I'm not sure about this thing because.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, let me ask you this. Are we, given that basically a coach was traded for draft picks, now my understanding, and maybe you could help me with this is why I'm coming to you, this is not something that really happens, where you trade a coach for draft picks.
It's only happened one other time.
One at a time. Okay, so yeah. What kind of precedent do you think this really sets, though, in the modern-day era? Do you think we'll see more of this?
I don't think so because a lot of people were thinking this was going to be a more regular thing when Gruden got traded back when the Bucs won that Super Bowl year. Yeah. So people were saying back in 2002 that, we traded for Gruden. Now more coaches, now that we know that they're available for trade, are going to be available. And I mean, we've seen maybe 2-3 times people have said, we should try and trade for Mike Tomlin or try and trade for this guy or that guy. But nothing ever really happens. And had Sean Payton been coaching and still been the Saints coach, this doesn't happen. The fact that he retired, he's still under contract and wants to get back in, that's the whole reason this happened.
No, okay, like I said, it's a weird thing to see. Like you said, it only happened one other time. So I mean, you coach for picks. You got to love the concept of it, though, I suppose.
To be fair, we're saying it was a lot for the first and the second. The Gruden trade was 2 firsts plus. There was more on top of that. So yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So the first and the second isn't that bad when you compare it to that, but it's still a lot to trade for a guy that stays on the sideline the entire time.
And they're also getting a 29th pick. It's not like they're getting a
You're basically getting another second round pick. Yeah.
True. Okay, very true. But yeah, I get you. 29th pick is still 29th pick, right? What the heck?
Yeah. Still a first round player.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there you go. So there we go, folks. We talked about Sean Payton. Let us switch gears. There was another Ryan. D'Amico Ryan, of course, was hired as the new head coach of the Houston Texans. Delilah, we'll come to you to talk about this one a little bit. Now, again, I want to tread lightly here because I want to be careful how I say this. But let's discuss this though. And again, this is your third black head coach you've hired now in 3 years. Gave him a 6-year contract. How do I say this? My point being basically with the management that Houston has had, they've made some really questionable calls over the last 3 years. How much of a chance does D'Amico Ryan get, given what you know about the team he's inheriting and the things that have happened the last few years? Was this the best situation for him to go to maybe as a first-time head coach? What do you think on that, Delilah?
No, and that's not on him. What I do find interesting is that they've continued with a defensive-minded coach, which I have nothing against, but it's interesting because that Lovey, who we know is defensive-minded head coach, they went to another defensive-minded head coach, but what he's walking into, it's a mess. Like, it's unfair because they actually have a lot of talented guys, but they're not cohesive. They're not put together. And they also don't give other pieces to help them. They don't have a quarterback. I'm sorry, that's not the guy. They don't have a quarterback. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm blanking. But what's his name? Was who's our receiver, the running back that was talking about them the whole year, and then he went on media blackout because he started talking bad about how bad the organization is run. I'm sorry.
Brandon Cooks.
Yes, Brandon Cooks. Thank you, Alex. Did you all follow his tweets? Because he was talking smack a lot because they're not helping him, and he's giving his career to this team. Like, he has put roots in that town. He's completely put himself out there for that team, and they're not giving him any help. They're not looking for other strong. Let's be honest. Does anyone know anybody on that team besides Brandon Cooks? Just in general, and I know I'm talking about just regular lay fans.
I
right?
mean, I do, but
I just said
there wasn't nobody talking to you, Google.
But you know what I mean, right? I mean about the passing NFL fans, and we know what that means. Guys that they know bring people to cheer, to root. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. No one knows anybody in that team. They knew JJ Watt, and he gave up on them. Think about that, okay?
Same with DeAndre Hopkins.
If JJ Watt gave his career to his hometown and said, "You guys are not doing the best of me," he left. So that's what I'm trying to say.
But
a lot of guys keep pouring everything into a team that isn't actually doing anything to build that team up. They haven't improved anything. They haven't improved their defense. They haven't added offensive pieces, real offensive pieces. They haven't really, because of we know the Deshaun Watson situation that really imploded that organization because they hid a lot of stuff. It came out, right? We know they got sued too. People forget that they also got sued. So So all those things they haven't fixed. They haven't really fixed from top to bottom. They're completely disorganized. And I feel so awful because D'Amico Ryan is going into, pardon my language, a shit show. He's walking into a shit show and into a shit sandwich situation. Literally, shit show, shit sandwich is what they're giving him. And unless they actually give him pieces, and it's unfortunate because I do think he has a strong, based on what he's done with the 49ers, we've seen what he can do as the defensive coordinator. We have literally oodles of accolades of the fact that the 49ers for the past few years have been a top tier, right?
Defensive
team, right? And so I do think he has a shot of having, really being great as a head coach. But unfortunately, I feel really bad. He really is walking into a shit show, shit sandwich.
Right.
Now,
well, that's
what coach is
go ahead. Yes, Alex.
What coach is their respective decision or their respective position, right? If you're going to be an offensive coordinator, you're not going into a strong offensive team. If you're going to be a defensive coordinator, you're not going to go into a strong defensive team. And not to pick your points, Delilah, but there was a point where Houston had, Deshaun Watson, JJ Watt, and DeAndre Hopkins. They had, very comparatively, a pretty good offense to a lot of other teams, right? I agree with everything you're saying. I think more so, though, in my opinion, it's got to be coach and management, in my opinion. More so the GM, in my opinion. But that's just what I would have to add to that.
But I think it also goes to the Houston's owners. They're not giving the coaches what they need to be able to make a team out of these guys.
That part.
And that's why, to me, that's why, at least on Broncos Twitter, a lot of people were like, why would DeMarco go to them? Because they're, like she said, it's a shit show from top to bottom on the team.
Yeah.
But
no, for sure.
and that's the thing is, if he doesn't turn this around with duct tape and whatever else, I think it was Ben or somebody who said it, that he's gone, and his first head coach, that's going to be on him in his first head coaching job. And as we've seen, it can be hard to get another one, and it can take time.
Yeah.
I mean, it took McDaniels 10 years to get another head coaching job. So I mean, that's what can happen. So
now at the same time, though, I compare what D'Amico Ryans is going into in Houston a lot to what Dan Campbell just went into in Detroit.
Yeah.
It's a team that absolutely tore themselves all the way down. And now you come in with this long-term 6-year deal, and this is the guy, and it's the exact same thing as Campbell. It's the guy that played here before, that knows the area, that's been through the low times that they're in now. So this is them giving that 6-year contract that he got is take your time. This is them saying, we've got faith in you. Now, obviously, he's going to have to show results. But I think he's got 3 years before, if it's still the shit show we're looking at now, then he's out the door. But I mean, you've got all those picks from the Deshaun Watson situation. You've got another one of these players coaches that players are wanting to go play for, a guy that is arguably the best linebacker in the Houston Texans franchise history.
Your choice of
I think this is something where, as long as there's patience behind it, it will work.
Right.
But you have to trust that the patience is going to be there.
Yeah.
And that the owners aren't going to yank you out because you don't give quick.
Now,
I agree with Nate. Nate commented earlier, it's like, why is the old GM still there? Because, that's, and
because when the GM got the job, it was at the beginning, knowing that they were going to tear it down. So now that he's fully torn it down, now he gets the chance to build it back up.
Right.
He'll get a year or two here, and if they're still not,
he'll be the scapegoat. He'll be the scapegoat.
This time he's the scapegoat, not the head coach. Because if you look at the head coach contracts here, Lovie Smith was a shorter deal.
Right.
I can't even remember off the top of my head who the head coach was before that, but it was a short-term deal. D'Amico Ryans got that 6-year deal. He's not the scapegoat this time. He's not the fall guy.
Well, that's the thing, Handy. I wanted to come to you with this because, again, like you said, you had 2 coaches previous. It wasn't just about them being black, though, but you've hired now your 3rd minority coach in 3 years, and you've given this guy a 6-year deal. Alex talked about it. The GM gets to tear down, and now he gets to rebuild. But do you really think he gets 3 to 4 years to really? Like, I get you gave him a 6-year deal, but do you think, because of everything that's happened in the Texas organization, and because this gentleman is, was a Texan, blah blah, he knows the area, all that stuff, you bring this guy in, you try to prop this up as we're giving him a 6-year deal, we're giving him all this, we're going to give him the opportunity, but at the end of the day, has this franchise showed you that they're capable of that? That's what I'd like to know, sir.
Absolutely not. There's another franchise in the league, and our beloved producer is a huge lifelong fan. But this is almost book chapter verse verbatim. You've got a dysfunctional ownership group. You've got a general manager who's making 0 moves whatsoever, just collecting checks. And like you said, Alex said, this is probably going to be the GM's last go around too. What'll wind up happening is, we saw this about 3-4 years ago. Washington, they Bruce Allen gone, and then when Bruce Allen didn't work out, they got rid of the coach. When the failure to realize the thing they're failing to realize is the problem is at the top, and until the mentality changes at the top, then there will be no flow. Job I work, we have terms and conditions, and there's clauses in the terms and conditions, and they all flow down into the purchase orders. There will be no flow down unless there's some changes in the main terms and conditions that are up at the top of the food chain in Houston.
Yeah. No, I actually 100% with that because it does start at the top. Kind of Delilah and I can kind of, rejoice a little bit in that, we finally hired a football guy as a team president. Kevin Warren from the Big Ten came over to the Bears and is now our team president. That makes me so happy that we actually have a football guy as a president of our football team. So thank you, Chicago Bears. Anyways, I digress. Bears are not in the playoffs this year, hopefully next year. But why don't we go ahead real quick? I want to get everybody's – we won't have to go in depth with this, but I do want to talk about quickly the Super Bowl and get everybody's prediction of what they think is going to happen. So let's just take a minute or so. We'll start with Delilah up in the corner. Delilah, Chiefs, Eagles. What do you know? Who do you got? What do you say?
I got Kansas City and Mr. Mahomes getting his second Super Bowl ring in this. Not because I hate the Eagles. I just have more confidence in Kansas City and Mr. Magician Mahomes because I still don't understand what else this man has to prove himself as an elite quarterback. He has done so much. In my opinion, like I've said multiple times, I think he's better this year than he's had when he had the crutch Mr. Cheetah. Because it made him better. It did. It made him a better quarterback. He had to go to people that people don't know. We might know a few of them, and I get it. You know the whole team, and I love that. I don't hate on that. But a lot of people don't know all the other players on the team except for Kadarius, right? You know what I mean? Sure. I give a lot of props to Mahomes. I think the fact that he did that 180 spin mill that he did a few weeks ago and got the touchdown anyway, and the fact that he was hobbling and still got the touchdown, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like he should be talked about in elite circles, in my opinion. I think he's proven himself multiple times that he can do it. I don't know how many other AFC championship games he needs to go to. I don't know how many other playoff wins he needs because he's got plenty of playoffs wins. He's gone to the playoffs multiple times. He's been to the AFC championships multiple times. I don't know what else this man has to do to prove himself. There's things I can say, but I'm not going to say.
Okay.
Of why.
Well, I did see a stat.
Of why he's judged a lot harsher than other quarterbacks.
Well,
but
that's
not this kind of show, so we're not getting into that. But I do think that he deserves to have that conversation, and so I think he'll get it done. And no hate on Jalen Hurts because I'm not a hater of him or the Eagles.
Not at all.
But I just think that Kansas City's going to get the win.
All right, Handy. Kansas City, Philadelphia. What do you say?
Well, like I said, Jalen Hurts seems to be a very level-headed young man. He even in a game when it was obvious that they were overpowering San Francisco, he didn't let it get him amped up or cause him.
Right.
Sometimes when you're running away with the game, you see a quarterback that will get amped up or get overamped or get overexcited, get ahead of themselves, and then they start making mistakes. He kept everything healed. They kept the play calling right about where they needed to do. They really didn't have to. Well, he only threw 400-something yards. He didn't have to. They were winning, and it was obvious San Francisco wasn't coming back. I think Philadelphia is going to make a good show of this. But again, like Delilah said, you got the master magician, nothing up my sleeve. Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. I wouldn't be surprised if Patrick Mahomes did like the Motown 25 and put on the sparkly sequin glove and did like Michael Jackson walked through the end zone a couple of times. I see Kansas City pulling I do. I see Kansas City being the one pulling the rabbit out of the hat this go around. Well, I say rabbit out of a hat like they don't have a chance.
Right. No, I know what you're saying.
I seriously think Kansas City's gonna, Patrick Mahomes is gonna get his second. He's gonna get his second Lombardi. He's gonna get his second ring, and then 4 or 5 years down the road, there's gonna be another picture of Patrick Mahomes with his wife draped all over him, holding his face while he looks like this. And, so.
Alrighty then. Yeah, silly rabbit tricks are for kids. That's what I say. Tina, what? That's right. Hey, Bullwinkle, not again. But Tina, we'll go ahead and get another hat. That's right. Tina, what do you say about the Super Bowl this year? What do you think?
I'm going to be rooting for the Eagles, but I think Kansas City. And the reason I say that is because now Mahomes is going to have 2 more weeks to heal from that high ankle sprain. He's going to be even more mobile. And
very true.
Let's just be honest. Eagles played in a phenomenal game, but they did not play Kansas City at full strength. So like I said, I'm rooting for the Eagles only because I have to. I mean, personally, I would like to see the scene from Batman where the Pittsburgh Steelers Stadium blows up and both teams are gone.
Wow.
If I have to choose.
Alrighty then.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Birthday. Well, we know how Tina feels about this situation already.
About my opinions, so.
No, not at all. And I'm grateful for that. Really, I want your opinions. That's why I asked. Kyle,
Kansas City's going to win.
Yeah. No, I hear you, Mr. Engagement. What do you got?
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a close game, to be quite honest with you. I'm predicting maybe like somewhere like around like a 31-27 final is what I'm kind of thinking. And I'm thinking we'll see Jerick McKinnon probably run one in also.
Now making prop bets now, are you? Nice.
Well, the guy's having a story here for sure. But the one thing that I will say is, like, even though he's had a crazy season with Jalen Hurts, once you get to the Super Bowl, being a rookie, it's a very, very, very different game. Very different game. So Patrick Mahomes has been here. He's been here a couple times now, right?
Right.
He knows how to control the game. And Andy Reid also has been here many times. So honestly, the experience that's behind everybody on KC, this is, in my opinion, as weird as it sounds, I think this is KC's game to lose, honestly.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think it'll be close. I don't think it's going to be a blow up by any means, but I do think Kansas City runs away with this one.
Okay, very good. And Mr. Loosemore, what do you say, my friend?
I'm alone on this one. I'm thinking Philly. I think that Philly's the most complete team in football right now. We've talked about Miles Sanders. We've talked about Devonta Smith. We haven't talked about A.J. Brown yet. You got Dallas Goedert. You got the best offensive line in football. That defensive line is playing out of their minds right now. When you've got Sue and Linval Joseph, 2 starting D tackles on a lot of teams as your rotational pass rushers. Slay and James Bradbury are playing out of their minds right now. Like, to me, this Eagles team, while they didn't play a full-strength San Francisco team, this team has been clicking on all cylinders all year. So I think this is one where I don't necessarily think it's going to come down to the quarterbacks here. I think it's going to come down to what's around the quarterbacks. And to me, especially if Snead's still out, we don't know with that head injury if he's going to be playing or not. I think A.J. Brown could have a day in this one. So I'm going to take the Eagles. I'll go 30-27. I think it's still very close.
No. Well, I want to let you know, Alex, you're not alone. Real quickly, I'll give my opinion on this. I've said all year, and you guys can go back and look. Don't listen to Elias exactly. So was I. Don't worry about it, Alex. I was 0-2 last week as well. But I mean, I've criticized Philly a lot this year with just strength of schedule, yada yada. They could be had at any moment. I always thought, but looking at, like you said, what they've done in the last half of the season, and then the momentum coming into the playoffs, and the way everything has gone down. I've always been a big proponent of defense wins championships. And I got to imagine that, like you said, both of their lines alone are like just out of this world. Their offensive line is great. To me, there's really not a better center in the league than Travis, than Jason Kelce. Honestly, that guy, if you watch tape from last game, he was all over. I mean, that guy was just phenomenal. And he is. That line is one of the best. And so is that D. Like you said, when Ndamukong Suh is one of your rotation guys, because he doesn't even start, and that shows you how good and how deep this team is. And I think that's what it's going to come down to, honestly. Like I'm picking the Eagles, I think, more because of the defense. I think the offenses are both very good. Obviously, we know what Jalen has, we know what Patrick has, but I think the defense is what determines this football game. And I just think the Eagles have a better defense than the Chiefs do. And if it gets into the shootout, which it could, again, just because of the offenses you have, I think the defense is what in the end gets this. So I'm picking the Eagles as well in a very close game as well. like you are. So I'm going with the NFC on this one. Yeah.
4-2.
So if Alex and I both lose, then we do, right? If we both lose, then we do. We're going down fighting, baby.
Though. It's not a clean sweep, so that's good.
No, not at all. Not at all. But listen, we appreciate everyone. We are going to take a quick break. We've got all our Super Bowl stuff in for now. And then we're going to take a quick break and come back with our one last thought. So we'll be right back. Enjoy. All right. Thank you all very much for coming back with us. Real quick, just to let you know, because some of you may be thinking, well, what are we doing next week? We're actually going to do a Super Bowl show next week. I'll have more details as they become available. We're talking about some things, but we're going to have some, facts about Super Bowls, some trivia about Super Bowls. We're going to do a lot of things. Everything next week will be Super Bowl themed. So be ready to look out for that.
All right.
As always, we love to. Yeah, you bring the cheese dip? Fantastic. I will bring the spinach artichoke dip cold. No, I don't like it hot, actually. I like spinach artichoke cold. I think it tastes better, but whatever. Who likes warm spinach? I certainly don't. But anyways, I digress. We're not talking food right now. I don't want to get hungry.
Funny-eyed sailor with big forearms. It does.
Hey now, take it easy, Popeye. Everybody. Yeah, exact. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. See, this is why. No, but honestly, this is why I love this, because we've got 6 people on here. We're all entirely pretty much different from each other. We all got our things. We all have our quirks. We all have our idiosyncrasies, and I love it. I could talk to you guys all night, honestly. So I appreciate you all coming on and doing this with us. It's always a good time. So to that end, we have our segment that we always end the show with called One Last Thought. So I'm going to go around to everyone, and we'll just start down here since I'm down here. We'll let the man of the hour, Mr. Kyle Yacy, we'll let you go first. Sure. Just give us your last thought, my friend.
Yeah, so with February coming up, it's February is known for many different types of I guess what February is known for. So for me, February is National Cancer Prevention Month. So
okay.
So the world, I think it's like the World of Cancer Awareness Day is February 4th. And it kind of goes for me. It hits home for me because, the people that just put things off, especially with health issues, so, whether it's the lack of sleep or, it's just a pimple and it's nothing more so than that. Or, with us all eventually getting older and older as the days go on, right? It's very important to keep track of your health. And if you have any hesitation that, it's nothing and you're just going to get better, go get it checked out, because ultimately at the end of the day, there's so many people that love you. There's so many people that care for you. I guess with my final thought is, take some time and really take care of yourself and do whatever you need to do, and don't be shy from the doctor. That's my last thought.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Believe me, man. I turned 50 and I started getting all my appointments going with screenings, and I had blood drawn last week. I'm like, I got to do it all. I'm with you, buddy. Get your health screenings, everyone. Definitely important. Tina, how about your last thought today?
My last thought is going to be, I had a pretty cool conversation with the producer of this show last summer. We started talking about football and blah, blah, blah. And he said, why don't you come on this show and let's talk about the Broncos? And I did. And then I got to talk about something that I love talking about, which a lot of my family doesn't. Even my friends that are Bronco people are like, way too much. This is just weird. I love coming on this show because I get to do something I really, really like to do. And that's talk to people from different areas about different things, but mostly about football. And just having conversations, because Delilah's probably run into this. I love hanging out with you guys because I don't get the, you're a girl, you don't know anything, you just know the quarterback. that good. And I don't get that.
I hear you.
I love that here. Right. So that's my
thought. Absolutely. And hey, we love having you. I really appreciate you coming on this year. It's been great having you. So thank you for being willing to do that. Handy, how about you, my friend? I won't lie. I always look forward to Handy because Handy is a combination of two things. He can be very profound in one sense, and then just be a total fool in the other sense. So I always look forward to what Handy has to say. So, Mr. Handy, if you would, please.
Wow. now I'm like, I want to be serious. I want to be like that Kevin Hart special, Seriously Funny.
Right. Well, that's you, my friend. There you go.
She wasn't ready. She wasn't ready. You put something in your mouth. You didn't chew it. Pineapples. I don't want it. I want to go home. Anyway.
Okay then. Well, there it is. See what I mean?
You started this, sir. You started it.
I know. I did. Hey, absolutely.
They're going to be, if you're in a relationship, there are going to be times in your relationship where you're going to be tested. You know what I mean? And this was going to be shortened to the point. The whole key to keeping that relationship going is being able to find a way to step outside of yourself, back away from the situation, and allow yourself to think like a logical human being, as opposed to thinking inside the moment and whatever the emotions are of that moment. And I know that is a very difficult thing for a lot of us to do sometimes, but I think about that. I think about that a lot because my parents have been together now for 53 years, and
God bless them. Yeah,
and right. Sometimes sometimes I just look at my father while my mother's talking, and he just sitting there looking at it. I just go, "Teach me your ways, Sensei."
Right.
I need you to teach.
I need
you to teach me the Force, Master Kenobi. But you're gonna have to learn the ways to step outside of the situation, because you know how that goes. One person says something. Both of you have had rough days. One person says something, and it grates your nerves, and you immediately like you go Super Saiyan. You ready to go Super Saiyan? Figure out a way to back away from the situation, step out of it, think like a logical human being, and come back and address it like an individual. My thing, and my wife knows this. We had been married for, I forgot how long it was we had been married, but I found no. That's not what I mean.
What was he just talking about? No, again, what was he just talking about? No.
What I mean by that is I forgot how long we had been married at the point when I discovered this was what I was doing.
I see.
I started realizing that when I got really mad, I'd be like, I'm going to the store. Do you want anything?
Yes.
I would get in the car. I would go for a ride. I would pick the farthest store away from the house. I would let it all out. God, that was kind of a Kramer from Seinfeld moment. Oh yeah, Jerry. And then come home and be able to have a conversation like two human beings. So that's it. Figure out a way to reel it in before you have the conversation, because it's hard to have a conversation when you're just two people shouting, "You shut up! No, you shut up!" That's it. That's all I
hear you there.
I like that.
All right. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Kyle's going, let me write that down.
Yeah, definitely write that down.
Taking notes on the side.
Take notes, Scott. Kyle's like, yeah.
You got the phone recording it, like.
Yeah.
Kyle, I got another one for you, Rook. I got another one for you. If you get ready to leave the house, and she said, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to the store." And she goes, "Are you going to pick up XYZ?" Don't even think about it. Just say, "No, but I can get you some if you'd like." Even better.
And there it is.
Even better. Just go, "Yeah, baby, I knew you wanted some."
Yeah.
There it is. Look at that. That's pretty handy. You do realize his girlfriend is sitting next to him listening, right? His fiance is sitting next to him listening. Oh, she's gone now. Okay, never mind.
She works nights.
She works nights. Okay.
Now we work opposite shifts.
Save you so much.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So much trouble.
There you go. All right. Nope. Hey, practical advice from Anthony Handy. Delilah, how about you? What's your one last word this week?
Well, I listened to your assignment about
one good thing that's happened to you.
Okay, no, go ahead.
Okay. It's all good. No, my good thing, honestly, is so like my mom isn't a sports person, but I appreciate that she always hops on and likes and shares anytime I pop up on a podcast, whether it's on the Roundtable or whether it's my ladies show. Once in a blue moon, she'll comment like "great," which is awesome,
Right.
But I love the fact that she's so supportive of me, like hopping on, and not just like me. Like whenever like Janae and Sean come up, if she sees them, she'll share their podcast and click and like. You know what I mean? So I just want to say I'm so grateful for my mom, who doesn't really follow.
You mean
sports,
your older sister?
who doesn't really follow sports, but who's out here supporting my podcast and talking about football with all of you guys. And she's always super like awesome about that. Like I said, she always clicks. She always clicks like, and she always shares. And once in a blue moon, you'll see her comment, and it might be something really generic, but it means a lot. So I think it's awesome. 100%. But anyway, that's all. I just want to say that I appreciate the fact that my mom supports the LTF family and all the LTF podcasts and stuff.
Thank you, Mom.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm telling you, I have had the pleasure of meeting Delilah's mother, and I make the joke that she looks like her older sister, because there's no way you look at her mom and go, "You had this girl like this." You don't look that old, sweetheart. I'm just saying. So yeah, I always call her her older sister, because I swear she is. But Maria, thank you very much. We do appreciate it. You're a lovely woman. You raised a lovely daughter. Exactly. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it. And last but not least, well, not last, because I guess I go last. But Alex, you're up next, my friend. One last thought from you.
So mine's kind of a mix of Delilah's and Tina's. So it's all thanks to Kyle. We'll start there because, we've said this a few times on a few different shows where, obviously me and Andrew had our show, and we both know Kyle, and Kyle just one day was like, "Hey, I'm hopping on this show. You guys should take a look." And that's how we got in with you guys. Was that's how we got to know you guys, was watching that show, and it was just like, oh, like we love the way this all works. And then halftime last year, getting all that, and then just getting to know everyone and hopping on all these shows and seeing the amount of people with all the knowledge, not just about football but life in general, that's on all these shows. And Jess, I'm so grateful to have met everyone and to have worked with everyone. And it's to kind of rope in Delilah's part. I've got friends and family that watch these shows, and they'll message me after and be like, "Hey, that was awesome," or "Wow, that was great," or like that actually enjoy watching the stuff, who aren't football fans. They like coming on and listening to what we're talking about. So very grateful for the last year with all you guys.
No, dude, what a beautiful panel tonight. Well, thank you, David. I know I'm beautiful. Thank you, sir. Yeah. How could you? Look at this. Look at this face. Face only a mother could love. Let me tell you. Anyway, but my one last thought is, it's in a similar vein, I guess, because I always, again, I have drawn so much. Like I wish I could really explain to you guys how much this LTF family has actually meant to just me in general, because again, for years I didn't do anything with any of the knowledge I had. I almost say like a previous life, because it was so long ago, where I tried to get an actual career in television by doing some local TV here in Chicago and I hadn't done anything media related literally since like 2009-10. So it had been a little while, and when this came up with Sean, it was like, oh, do I want to? Is this something I really want to do? Do I want to get back into this kind of thing? What do I want to do with this? I had all these questions and all these things, and Sean was like, well, let's just try it. We started out with just me, him, and Delilah talking football. And that's really where it started. I mean, and then it grew. Handy joined the show. Then we started adding other guests to the show. Again, like you boys came in. Kyle came on once, and like everybody started started meeting all these other people, and it just became this whole big group of people who were, had a focus and a passion for football and all that stuff. So I mean, it's great to have everyone to be able to do that. Like I said, this show was all 6 of us tonight, which was great. I love talking to everyone, getting the different opinions, hearing what everybody has to say. I mean, I just think it's great, and I really appreciate all you guys. I know I've said that before, but I just think when you have a group of people that can come together like this, because all of us, like I said, we're all very different. And I think everybody will agree with that. We have 6 totally different personalities to us, but yet we can all come together because of one passion, and that's football. And again, it's not about being a man or woman, like you said. Tina and Delilah talk, give just as good as they get from us, and vice versa. So I mean, it's great that we can all just talk football. It doesn't have to be about race, doesn't have to be about man or woman, it doesn't have to be about any of that. It's just about football. And that, to me, that's great. Like, that's absolutely 100% the reason I love doing this. I will continue to do this until they scrape me off the walls or whatever, because this is something that I will always be, love to do, and will do no matter what it takes, no matter anything. So again, thank you all for watching. Of course, we saw many comments. We didn't get to as many today, but thank you guys seriously for watching. I saw everybody who was in there, Nicole, Ben, Sydney, Ash, David, who else was in there? A bunch of other people. I don't. Christopher, I think, was in there at one point. Scott Taylor. Scott, I don't know personally, but I've seen him comment. Yeah, Scott comments a lot on other shows too, so I've seen Scott in and out of everything. We've never officially met, but yeah, thank you guys so much, honestly, for watching. We appreciate all of you. Again, next week we're going to do our Super Bowl show, so we will have some things going on there, and I probably will ask some people to come on during different times. So if you're interested, be prepared. Hit me up. You know where to find me. I'm always around somewhere. But yeah, we're going to do our Super Bowl show next week. That'll be great. But for Delilah, I'm going to show you my guns. Crespo, Anthony, don't call me Tony. Handy, Tina, my heart is not as cold as a Chicago winter. Kyle, I put a ring on it. Yacy. And Alex, I only bet on football so I don't lose more. I'm Nick. I want the smoke. Rosario. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week. Have a great evening, everyone.